me start recording the class for the one who are not here with us, so they'll be able to watch this video and the class that we are starting today. Okay, let me close this. Okay, okay, we start already this PowerPoint. Let me see, where was the last slide? Let me see. I can't open this. Come on, open it, this one. Here it is. Oh my. Vamos a ver. Here it is. So now let's see where were we. I think we spoke this information. This is the last one. Okay, 11. Okay. Let me see. Gabriel Carrizo. Otra vez Gabriel Carrizo. Carrizo. Sorry guys, sorry. Okay, now over here, let's begin with this section, the gods and goddess. Remember, I think we have, I discussed this thing. Remember with Mr. Poveda, he has a confusion with this. This is Ra, la mitad del cuerpo y la cabeza de un halcón. Ra, el dios del qué? Del sol. La salud, la cura, dicen. Pero Ra es
el más importante para ellos.
Anubis, con una cara de una especie de un lobo, chacal que le dicen, es el dios del qué? Del inframundo, de underworld, que protege el underworld, o sea, el infierno por acá. Otro muy conocido es Osiris, dios de la justicia. Mira que no tiene nada especial aquí. Sin embargo, este sí. Horus, protección, salud y vigor, que también se parece, mire que se parece a Ra. Se parece a Ra, pero él tiene una especie de, acuérdense, ¿se acuerdan de las regiones? Él parecía de Higher Egypt, Higher Egypt, this one, porque era blanco. El rojo creo que era de Lower Egypt. Isis, la diosa del amor. Mira que es una mujer así. No es nada mitad hombre ni mitad nada. Y aquí, mire, Basset, de la fertilidad, protección de la casa, una especie de un tigre. Y está Cator, del dios del que de la sabiduría y de la magia. Esto parece como una especie de lagarto, ¿verdad? Parece un lagarto, en mitad cuerpo.
Más bien parece como que si tú...
Pájaro, como un carpintero.
Pájaro.
Pájaro.
Un tucán, parece como un tucán.
Sí, un tucán.
Algo así puede ser, ¿verdad? Ok, now let's continue, guys. Now, emphasize on the afterlife. Acuérdense que ellos siempre pensaban que había una vida después de la vida. Por eso ellos siempre se concentraban en que había una vida después de vida. Dice, much of Egyptian religion focus on the afterlife. La mayoría de la religión se enfocaba en de la región egipcia. En la vida después de la vida. La Pinilla llegó. Pinilla, Victoria. The Egyptian believed that the afterlife was a happy place. Un sitio chévere, contento, todo el mundo está feliz. Painting from Egyptian tombs show the afterlife as an ideal world where all the people were young and healthy. Dice que las pinturas en las tumbas se veía que la vida después de la vida, afterlife, life, después de la muerte, la vida después de la muerte, se veía o lo pintaban como gente joven y saludable. O sea, era un sitio fantástico, según ellos, los egipcios. Now, the Egyptians believe in the afterlife stem from their ideas of Ra. Ra es el espíritu. Or a personal life force, una fuerza personal que lo mantiene en la vida. Cuando una persona, when a person died, his or her ka, su alma, left the body and became spirit, y se convierte en un espíritu. Esa fuerza, esta energía que tenemos en el cuerpo se convierte en un espíritu. Pero ese ka, esa fuerza se mantiene conectada al cuerpo. Dice, the ka remains linked to the body and could not leave its burial site. O sea que no podía abandonar el sitio donde fue enterrado. Se mantenía. However, it had all the same needs that the person had when he or she was alive. Tenía todas las necesidades como si tuviera una persona viva. ¿Ok? To fulfill the K, para poder completar este K, las necesidades del K, las personas fill the tomb, llenaban las tumbas with objects for the afterlife. These objects include furniture, clothing, tools, jewelry, and weapon. Imagínense, con todo eso lo enreda, lo enterraba, ¿ya? En la tumba, en la pirámide. Move on. Now, aquí hay, miren lo que tenemos aquí. El Ka es el espíritu, ya le dije que el espíritu. El Ba es cuando uno nace, le llaman ese espíritu que entra en el cuerpo de uno y lo caracteriza con su personalidad, se llama el Ba.
Y teacher,
Cuando lo van a momificar al cuerpo. Son términos que ellos utilizaron en aquella época, chicos.
teacher, tengo una pregunta. Si los enterraban con armas y se imaginaban que era un lugar como bastante feliz, entonces...
A defenderse. O sea,
Uno nunca sabe.
todas las pertenencias que tenían ellos, con todas las pertenencias. Si él tenía una arma, también lo enviaban. Hasta comida le dejaban dentro de
Y se podría
dentro
comer.
de las pirámides. Acuérdense que en las pirámides solamente iban las personas muy importantes, o sea, los faraones y ciertas personalidades.
Y los nobles.
Los nobles también sí. Burial practice, prácticas de entierro. The Egyptians believed that a body had to be prepared, puede ponerse preparado to the afterlife before it could be placed in a tomb. Antes de ser puesto en una tumba, dice. To keep the Ka from suffering, the Egyptians developed a method para mantener el Ka en ese cuerpo. Inventaron el método de ¿qué? De embalsamamiento, embalse. Ellos lo embalsaman y ahora hay un video que habla sobre eso para que lo vean. Para mantener el cuerpo y que no se pueda descomponer from decaying. The Egyptians preserved bodies as mummies. Oh, me fui. Mummies and body wrapped in clothes for the afterlife. Embalming preserved the body for many years. Okay. Now, vamos a hablar de las pirámides, chicos. The pyramids were built as a huge tomb for Egyptian pharaohs. Fueron creados para los faraones y para otras personas. Las más pequeñitas eran para los nobles, como me dicen. Okay, the Egyptians believed that burial sites, especially royal tombs, were very important. As a result, they built spectacular monuments in northern Africa in which to bury their rulers. The most spectacular of all were the pyramids, a huge stone tomb with 4 triangle-shaped sides that meets in a point on top. The Egyptians first built the pyramids during the old period, o sea, en este periodo que estamos estudiando, las primeras que aparecieron las pirámides. Okidoki, guys, let's move on. Aquí hay unos ejemplos de pirámides, mira, todos los pirámides. Así que díganle a su papá que lo lleven a Egipcio. ¿Ok, chicos? Egipcio. Que lo lleven a Egipto, díganle, papá, dice el teacher, que nos lleva a Egipto. Pero después que pase la pandemia, díganle así. No mentira, es relajo mío, no me hagan caso. Now, the largest example of this architecture is the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Khufu no es el rapero de Colón, no es Khufu, okay. After, near the town of Giza. It covers more than 13 acres in base and stand 481 feet high. No sé cuánto será eso de altura. Okay. Like all pyramids, is an amazing reminder of Egyptian scientific contribution and engineering. Definitivamente fueron unos ingenieros para poder crear esa estructura, chicos. Building the pyramid. Historians are not sure how the Egyptians built the pyramid. No están seguros cómo ellos crearon eso. Hay teorías que dicen que fueron los extraterrestres que lo trajeron, pero no creo yo eso. What is certain that such enormous project requires a huge labor force, as many as 100,000 workers may have been needed to build a single pyramid. Imagínense, 100,000 personas va a poder construir, según los historiadores. 4 years scholars have debated how the Egyptians moved the massive stones used to build this pyramid. Some believe that during the Nile floating, builders floated the stones downstream directly to the construction site. Most historians believe that workers used bricks, ramps, and strong slides. Okay, I have a picture over here. Aquí está. Miren cómo ellos cortaban, how they cut the stones and they put it in this. This is like a rail. This is like a rail, and they start pushing it. Y ellos comenzaron a empujar. Like this one, over here. Miren aquí. Y así llevaban, and that way they took all these big stones to the place where supposed to create the pyramids. Look, how many people, like they said, a very huge amount of people, like more than 100,000 people in order to create these huge structures, okay? El significado de las pirámides, chicos, burial in a pyramid demonstrate that pharaohs is important. The size and shape of the pyramids were symbolic to ancient Egyptian, pointing to the sky, el punto al final que veía hacia el cielo. The pyramid was an icon that symbolized the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife. The Egyptians wanted the pyramid to be spectacular because they believed that the pharaoh, as their link to the gods, controlled everyone's afterlife. Making the pharaoh's spirit happy was a way of ensuring one's own happy afterlife. O sea que si el faraón se iba contento para la otra vida, ellos también el pueblo también iba a ir contento hacia la otra vida. Muy bien, chicos, quiero enseñarles ahora el video, que aquí yo lo tengo, déjenme buscárselo aquí el video, que es muy padre. ¿Cómo se momifica? ¿Dónde es que está? Aquí está. Vamos a ver si está el internet, está lo suficientemente rápido. Chicos, acuérdense, la otra semana tenemos el foro sobre Egipto. Así que tratemos de llegar temprano el lunes, que va a ser el lunes, chicos. Vamos a ver qué pasó aquí con el video. Aquí está el video, pero no se quiere cargar. Ahí está cargándose. Remember to complete the organized form. No. A ver. Vamos a ver. Ajá, aquí viene. De la parte de mummies. Ajá. Aquí está. Analyze the video. Aquí viene el video. ¿Dónde está el video? ¿Dónde pusiste el video? Aquí está el video. Vamos a verlo, chicos. Presten atención.
Ancient Egyptians believed that once you died, your soul would live on, but to live on properly, it needed to be able to reanimate your body in the form of your body or statues and paintings. This is why mummification was so important, so that your body would be preserved and your soul would have a house for the hereafter. Mummification was carried out by special priests and embalmers who would work on the body, and some of them had very specialized jobs, the ones who made the cuts or the ones
Profe, para que no se vea tan cortada, apague su
was
cámara.
quite a large brotherhood of priests and workers. The first thing that one did for mummification, classic mummification, was to remove the brain, and this was done by inserting a very sharp object up the nostril, hitting it so that it would break in through the ethmoid bone and into the cranium. Then they'd poke around and be able to make the brain to mush, and then they'd remove the brain by teasing it out with a hooked instrument through the nostrils and sort of patting the head violently till the brain came out. Then they'd sort of pour liquid resin into the brain cavity, because this is what would prevent any bacteria from growing. Once the brain had been disposed of, the body would be cut here. There'd be a small cut on the left-hand side, and the embalmers would remove the lungs, the liver, the stomach, and the intestines. The heart would be left in place, because for the ancient Egyptians, the heart was the most important organ. That's where your soul resided. This is where everything that had to do with you as a being was. The body then was wrapped, after it was being oiled and unguents were applied so it would smell nice. Then it was wrapped up in bandages with amulets placed for protection throughout, and then it was put into a coffin and buried. You can really compare mummies to beef jerky, and in fact, when the pharaohs came back from Luxor to Cairo once they'd been discovered, they were greeted all the way down the Nile with great applause. But when they got to the port of Bulag, they had to be taxed, and in fact, instead of beef jerky, they came in as salted fish, because it was the same thing, preserved meat.
Okie dokie, now let's watch another video that talks about the gods, guys. The other one.
Gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt. Amun, a primeval god The Egyptians interpreted his name as the Hidden One. As Amun-Ra, he was identified with the sun god. Known as the king of deities, he is associated with the hawk and the ram. His Karnak temple was one of the most glamorous. Anubis, the god of mummification and embalming. He also protected the mummy from evil forces in the night and conducted the weighing of the heart in the Hall of Judgment before Osiris and the 42 deities. He is associated with the jackal. Bastet, the cat goddess worshipped in the city of Bast. She was connected with the moon and in a myth became the eye of the moon. She was one of the most popular household deities. Bes, a protective spirit who averted evil. His most important attribute was the Sa, the symbol of protection. Bes was usually portrayed as a dwarf with a huge bearded head, protruding tongue, flat nose, shaggy eyebrows and hair, large projecting ears, long thick arms, and bowed legs. Hathor, the name of the goddess means House of Horus. She was a sky goddess in earlier times, and she appeared as a cow, a symbol of fertility. She was also the goddess of dance, music, and love. Hathor is one of the oldest known goddesses of Egypt, symbolizing the Great Mother or cosmic goddess who conceived, brought forth, and maintained all life. Horus. Horus is associated with the hawk and may be depicted as a hawk with or without the double crown of Egypt, or as a man with a hawk's head. He is the god of kingship. Isis, daughter of Geb and Nut, sister of Osiris and Seth, and Osiris's wife. Isis was more popular than any other goddess in Egyptian history. It was Isis that found the pieces of her brother, husband, Osiris, put him back together, and gave birth to their son, Horus. Isis was the goddess of love and magic. As the protector of little children, she is also associated with motherhood. She is depicted as a woman with a throne on her head. Ma'at. The goddess Ma'at was the personification of the basic laws of all existence. She embodied the concepts of law, truth, justice, and world order. In the Hall of Judgment, at the weighing of the heart of the deceased was placed on the scales of justice, balanced against the feather of Ma'at, the symbol of truth. She was usually depicted as a woman with an ostrich feather on her head. Nut. Nut was the daughter of the air god Shu. She was also the sister and wife to Geb. She was the personification of the vault of heaven and the Milky Way. Nut was considered to be a protector of the dead and at times was depicted as a cow. Osiris, the most well-known figure in Egyptian history and the lord of the underworld. He was a god of agriculture, resurrection, and eternal life. Osiris had many titles, including Wennefer, the Perfect One. His brother Seth envied his popularity and murdered him, dismembered him, and scattered the pieces throughout the Nile Valley. His wife Isis found the pieces and through magic conceived their son Horus. Osiris then became the god of the underworld. Osiris is usually depicted as a mummified man. Sekhmet, lioness-headed goddess of war and of the desert. The ancient Egyptians called her the Mighty One. She was the protector of the king whenever he went into battle, and conversely, she was also a goddess of healing. Sobek, crocodile-headed god of the Nile. The ancient Egyptians believed that the waters from the Nile came from his sweat. Thoth. The ancient Egyptians called this god Jehuti. The ibis bird and baboon were associated with Thoth. Thoth was the lord of the moon, the lord of time, and the recorder of years. As the god who invented writing, He was the protector of scribes. As a protector of Osiris, he also became helper of the dead. When the Greeks came to Egypt, they assimilated Thoth to their god of magic, Hermes, and he became known as Hermes Trismegistus.
Okay. Over here, I think I have another one. Let me look for it. I have another video for you guys. I watched a very interesting on how the pyramid was built. I put it over here in my Hotmail. Let me download it. I thought I did, but I didn't. Anyway, it's a little bit slow. Let me see, where is it? I think civilization, this one. What's this?
Teacher, o sea que Hermes se lo copiaron los griegos de los egipcios.
Yes, that's it. Anyway, you know, there's a lot.
Gods and goddesses.
Oh, this one is the same one. Here in YouTube, you can find a lot of videos that talks about Egyptian, all different things. So I encourage you to come and try to get as much information as you can. Now, this one is about what? Let me see. Ancient, the afterlife, the afterlife. Oh, wait, Yes.
What was the ancient Egyptian afterlife like? And why did the ancient Egyptians put so much effort into getting there? In this video, you'll learn the 3 things that you need to know to understand what the ancient Egyptian afterlife was like and why you'd want to be there. Welcome to Voices of Ancient Egypt, where we demystify the words and lives of the ancient Egyptians through animated videos like this one. If you're new here, I'd love to have you subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss future videos like this one. The ancient Egyptians had what might seem to us very strange and complex beliefs about what life after death was like and how to prepare for it. So what was the point of it all? The point was, in fact, not to obsess over death, but rather to overcome it and be able to live on forever in what we now call the afterlife. But what was the ancient Egyptian afterlife actually like? Let's jump into the 3 things that you need to know about the ancient Egyptian afterlife to understand why they spent so much time and money preparing for it. Number 1, there was no one single accepted idea of what the afterlife was like. This might seem like the weirdest part of all, but the ancient Egyptians had many different interpretations and ideas about religious concepts such as the afterlife. Some traditional beliefs were certainly more popular in some places and in some time periods than others, but the ancient Egyptians seem to have had no issues at all with there being varying viewpoints on these topics. So, if there were multiple beliefs about what the afterlife was like, what were they? I'm so glad you asked, because that leads us to number 2. The afterlife could mean living among the gods, the sun, and the stars in the sky. This idea was especially common for kings, but it expanded to more people over time. In this version of the afterlife, the person could live among the stars, hang out with the moon god, or even ride in the sun god's boat, which the sun used to travel through the sky during the day and then through the underworld during the night. Is all of this making sense so far? If so, let me know by writing afterlife in the comments below. Number 3. The afterlife could mean living in an even better version of ancient Egyptian rural life forever.
Oh my God, guys, I'm so sorry, guys. We don't have enough time. We don't